Welcome to Brick by Brick.
Sorry, 1 second.
What's going on?
I was like, damn, I can't do it that fast.
Scroll.
What if I
Sorry
did?
about that.
That's okay. What if I fully read it that fast?
Oh, yeah. I'd be like, oh,
Like, damn, girl.
I'd be like, period. I guess.
I'm like, I refuse to fail.
Alrighty, I'm gonna count it back in 1 second. Since it's only me in the studio, give it like I want to say like a 3-second pause so I can get back to the prompter and then we can start.
I got you.
Count you in and you'll be on the screen, but I'll make sure to cut it in post.
Okay, I'll give it some buffer.
Alright, thank you.
I love the day after
And
refreshing.
we're gonna start in 5, 4, 3, 2.
Welcome to Brick by Brick, where we'll be speaking to younger and older members of the LGBTQIA+ community, establishing a timeline of the efforts that have brought us this far, and looking toward the future at the work that still needs to be done. This show is brought to you by One Roof Chicago, a nonprofit organization dedicated to building a queer, intergenerational housing community on Chicago's South Side. My name is Chijioke WIlliams. I use she, her pronouns, and today we'll be speaking with Aderinsola Ajeku, whose recent work gives me hope for the future. Hello.
Hi, how's it going?
I'm doing really well. How are you?
I'm great. Thank you.
Of course. Before we launch into everything, can you tell me your name and pronouns?
Yes. My name is Aderinsola Ajeku, and pronouns are she, her.
Fabulous. Okay. I'm going to tell you and the rest of the world the whole process of how I came to learn about you and how I'd like to learn more.
Okay.
So, not too long ago, I'm reading the Chicago Tribune, and I find that there is this article just going over all of this incredible work that you've been doing with something called Pink Sappho. And it was, I would say, as a journalist myself, it was a great introduction to what you've been doing with a few people talking about great things. So I had to hear it from your voice and your point of view personally. Tell me, what is Pink Sappho?
Thank you, Chijioke. First of all, that's so sweet. And thank you for, bringing me on and reaching out and just being supportive. And as for your question, what is Pink Sappho? Pink Sappho is a Sapphic social club that centers the Black, Indigenous, and POC community, for now Chicago-based. Mm-hmm. But we do a series of events, and we just bring back the art of socializing, and our goal is to make our Sapphic community, our BIPOC Sapphic community, a little more aware of how important social skills are, but not just the importance of social skills in community, of just enjoying yourselves.
I love that. And not that I don't enjoy a party myself every now and then, but I would say that it seems like in the queer community a lot of the time, it can be hard to find stuff to do that isn't just a party or like a club setting. So it sounds like you're creating a setting that, while is celebratory, is maybe a little bit off to the side of that, a little bit more niche for a different...
Yeah, a little bit more reserved, some people call it. Some people say, oh, you only do stuff on the weekdays? Not true. Yeah, so we are a social club without the clubbing aspect. So that's exactly right.
And what would you say, what have people been telling you about it? What's some of the feedback that you've gotten so far?
We've gotten lots of good feedback. Gosh, like I actually so appreciate the amount of feedback that we've been getting. And I'm open to constructive feedback as well, but we've gotten a little bit of that, but most of the feedback has been positive, which I'm so grateful for, because I'm a little sensitive.
That's so relatable, though.
Yeah.
But I have to roll it back.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about yourself and how you came to be in this position to start this, to create this, what you've done.
Yeah, I mean, about myself, a little bit. How much is a little?
However much you'd like. We have 20-ish minutes, so...
Oh, okay. Not too much.
Okay.
Launch into my life story. So a little bit more about me. I grew up in Nigeria, Lagos, Nigeria, and I came to the United States when I was about 12, 13. And when I came to the U.S., I went straight to a boarding school that just kind of threw me into, it was a melting pot. Gratefully so, I didn't just grow up with a bunch of like Caucasian people. I grew up around a lot of people of color, and I grew up in this kind of society that was very controlling, as every child grows up in a controlling environment sometimes. But I grew up in an environment that kind of just controlled our every move, and I didn't feel like I really got to explore myself, especially my sexuality, until about like high school, which is typical. But high school, I luckily, we're gonna get into some tea here for a sec. Don't judge me, you guys.
I'm so ready.
But like I said, I grew up at a boarding school, and at a boarding school, you live with other same-sex, individuals. And I got the honor of like finally exploring my sexuality with my roommate, and
they were roommates.
Chijioke, why are you laughing?
No, it's sacred. It's beautiful. It's important. It's wholesome. And they were roommates. Okay,
And we were
carry
roommates.
on.
And I got to explore like a lot of that side that I was curious about with my roommate. And finally, my sexuality was awakened.
Sure.
In that I always had curiosities growing up, but just never had the guts to explore. And I did that at boarding school. But also, like I said, with the control, we were still very, very just kind of, we were just all on a campus, one tiny little campus. I didn't really get to explore until I graduated from high school, where I went to New York. I went to school in New York, and I was studying international affairs, but I'm also like a pandemic graduate. So it was very, very hard. Coming straight from a boarding school where you don't really culturally fit in to pandemic graduation where I didn't even get to walk across the stage. And then I log on to Zoom.com and I'm having all my classes on there. It was very, very difficult to exercise that, like, practice that social skill. Those social skills that I learned at boarding school, actually. It was very hard to practice that, and everyone was scared. The pandemic kept people in their cliques, behind their masks, in their homes. So it was very, very difficult to connect at first, but I got lucky. I matched with someone on Hinge who actually has a social club in New York of her own. She's doing incredibly well for herself. And I got to see firsthand everyone kind of slowly come out of their shell. After, like, post-pandemic, everyone started coming out and connecting more, but it was still difficult. Like, nothing was ever going to be the same. We'd lost a key part of that. So I came to Chicago. I moved to Chicago after studying international affairs in New York. Came to Chicago just to visit. And then I fell in love. That was not the plan.
Chicago will do that to you.
Yeah, I fell in love not just with Chicago, with a pretty woman.
Ooh, that'll happen even more.
Yeah, that's what kept me here. So I came to Chicago, so I did have to move here because I was in love. And I had to start over from New York, going from knowing so many queer people in New York to Chicago. I was like, what in the world? And then I started going out. And unfortunately, I'm a type A, and I don't know if you guys know about that, but, like, clubbing is not typically for us, like, but we do deserve a place to belong. I don't know if you can relate.
I myself am more of a kickback kind of girly.
Yeah.
Like, I need some Erykah Badu, some incense, soft pillows, and a nice conversation.
Exactly,
like,
a nice conversation.
Yeah, if there's drinking, it's from, like, it's wine, I like something laid back, not loud sounds. That's
exactly, no loud sounds. It's, if I wanted that, I just go to a rave,
Exactly. I feel like and I'm glad that you've mentioned this, there are a lot of places you can go to party, and very few of those places will not overstimulate you if you are the type of person who like loud sounds, smells, crowds.
Absolutely. I think majority of us, we gotta be lying. You guys have to be lying.
That's what I
do you really want to do that every weekend? Like, is that something like, I don't know.
It is one of the things that affirms to me that there must be something to the whole introvert-extrovert dichotomy, because I a lot of the time don't get it. But some of my closest friends, they just love it. Love a good party all night thing.
You know
and I
what?
love that for them.
Yeah.
It's for me, that's maybe like a twice a year thing.
It's twice a year. Come on now.
You're right. One per season, four times a year, and I won't enjoy twice of them. 2 of them, I should say.
No facts. It's not something I can keep up with physically, mentally. It's draining. I lose my voice the next day. Clubbing just wasn't for me, but I felt this pressure, this Western pressure to enjoy it and to just do it because everyone was doing it. But I just got tired, and a part of me wanted to see something different. And I think I had one of those corny moments where it's like, be the change you want to see in the world.
Gandhi, I love it.
No.
Yes,
yeah.
of course.
But yeah, to summarize your question, a little bit more about myself. Nigeria, grew up there. Boarding school was a little bit suppressed, but I had the privilege of, exploring with my roommate. Shout out her. Shout out her. And I moved to New York, made friends there. It was tough during the pandemic. I had to rebuild my social skills. Came to Chicago, and I built my social skills here, more of that. And I want to share that knowledge with my community.
That's great.
Yeah.
And I mean, there are, as we were just saying a second ago, not necessarily a ton of spaces specifically for Sapphic folks as far as being social or otherwise. And that has been changing recently. I think there are spots around Chicago. I can think of 3, but the fact that I can think of 3 when at Boys Town alone there are like 7 different bars or clubs, you know. And yes, what we're talking about, what you're offering here is antithetical to a bar or a club. It's more relaxed, it's maybe more thoughtful, more mindful, more demure. And it would still be nice to have more spaces like that. So I understand, is yours once a month? How frequently?
Sometimes it's once a month. I know we planned 3 in 1 month at one point.
Wow.
That was a lot. But it's mostly once a month. Yeah.
And that's really cool. It sounds like you're, introducing something to the Sapphic social ecosystem, if you will.
Absolutely. Ideally, the goal is to have a team, a support system, and be able to do something a lot more consistent, not just once a month, but also we're building a brand. Branding is important. With branding? Every brand has one thing in common. They sell an emotion, a story. What is it we want to sell? Do we want to still sell exclusivity? Do we want to sell just or do we want to sell something that's super duper consistent in terms of twice a month, once a week, things like that? What are we capable of? Because we have limits sometimes, whether it's stress, burnout, or finances, or just resources. So it just depends. But ideally, we would like to do something more than once a month. But for now, once a month is just perfect.
It makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
And normally when we're on this show, we're phrasing a lot of what we're talking about in terms of activism and change in the local community, right? A lot of people, I think, might not necessarily view a party or a series of parties or get-togethers as activism, but the way I see it, and as it affects a lot, or as it has concerned some of our past guests as well, is that if you are putting active effort into changing your community through joy, through investing joy into a community that doesn't get a lot of attention, that counts as activism.
Yeah.
So at the peak, of your activism, if that's in the future, how would you hope to have this work change the city? Would you want to have an actual, brick and mortar location, Pink Sappho in such and such neighborhood, or...
It's beautiful that you ask that. That's such a good question. Thank you for asking that, Chijioke. I was thinking activism doesn't just have to be negative. It has this connotation of struggle and protest, and which fair, but yeah, you're right. Activism comes in forms of changing your community in joyous ways too, and the solidarity of activism is so important because numbers. There's power in numbers, and the more of us that come together to make change or push for a message, the more likely that message is able to get across. Duh. And as for your question, how would I want Pink Sappho to show up in the future? It's funny you ask that because the original thought for Pink Sappho was going to be a nonprofit. So I come from a nonprofit. The boarding school I went to was a nonprofit boarding school. And although they were a little bit controlling and in some ways suppressed us, I come from that. It's a big part of my life, and I see the value in nonprofits through and through. There's like this society would be completely different. It might be run amok without nonprofits. And that was my first initial instinct with Pink Sappho, turning into a nonprofit, but it takes a lot to start a nonprofit, a lot more than people expect. Almost takes a little more to start a nonprofit than a business, an LLC, because that's an organization.
Yeah.
You need everyone, you need a group on board with the same visions and the same, minds, a similar like vision or outlook and goals. So I wanted to start a nonprofit. Eventually, with Pink Sappho, I do want to go the nonprofit route, have both a nonprofit and LLC, because we do want to have a building, like a Sapphic space, a safe space where we can either have artists come work, a safe office space that's like free for the community, because not everyone has a home that they could just like work and chill in. Some people want a third space. I want to have a third space for Pink Sappho, and I want to, the forefront of this all, like, I do want to provide housing for Black and brown queer women and Sapphics in our community. Like, housing is it's a mental thing when houselessness is mental, and a lot of times you can have a home or have your name on a lease and still be houseless mentally. So I want to provide communities, spaces, and homes for like Black and brown Sapphics in Chicago, and preferably worldwide, but
we're starting
we got to start somewhere.
I love that.
Yeah,
And
that's the end goal.
that's an unexpected overlap with the mission of One Roof Chicago, actually.
Really?
Well, One Roof Chicago is trying to build an intergenerational home between older queer folks and younger queer folks on the South Side, so that you have like a location for those people who have been, Sapphic in Chicago for years and years, but like have kind of lost family and don't know who they're going to age with, and can like connect with the younger folks and the older folks around them.
That's beautiful.
But it also kind of warms my heart to hear you talking about like building outward and upward as far as Pink Sappho. Because if there's one thing I've learned working with One Roof Chicago and with a lot of these elder queer folks, it is that these opportunities to come together stick with people decades later. I've spoken to a lot of people, Janice Lane, for example, who was on the board of One Roof Chicago. And she has gone to the parties, for years and years. She's been at so many of them. So if you say just some random queer person's name who has been in Chicago, well, specifically a Black queer person's name, who's been in Chicago for the last 20 or 30 years, she can be like, oh, such and such person who was at this party and does this thing.
That's beautiful.
But the thing is, at most loud parties, you don't really get an opportunity to have those conversations, to really even get someone's name until like the third time you're there. And so it sounds like you could be creating not just a space for people to connect, but to really deepen and broaden those connections that exist decades in the future. Sure, the party happens initially, but the connections that you make there are so much more substantial than you could in a loud room, especially if it wasn't catered to who you are and your identity.
I'm glad you see that. Thank you for saying that. That's a good perspective to have.
Of course, it's just the truth.
Yeah.
And so with everything that you've been doing, that everything you're planning for, what would you say? You mentioned that Pink Sappho, like you want to have a team, you want folks to work together with you on it. Who is it, like just you right now? Are you working with someone else to like get the organization like spinning up? Like what's going on?
So with Pink Sappho, like the operational sides of things, like every entrepreneur can relate to this at one point. You are the social media manager, the secretary, you're everything. You're admin.
All the hats. Yes.
You wear all the hats, absolutely. And with me, I brought on, I was lucky enough to meet a publicist.
Oh, wow.
Ivory Fields, the woman you are. I was lucky enough to meet a publicist at Dorothy's downstairs.
Yes, one of the like three Sapphic spaces in Chicago.
The one time Dorothy was quiet, I was able to connect with Ivory Fields.
Excellent. And
we just built this relationship, and she became our publicist, and she's actually the one that got us to the Chicago Tribune, Windy City Times.
Nice.
Absolutely, she's wonderful. So she's kind of been that back end of publication, but I also brought on 4 ambassadors because I was thinking, like, what emotion am I trying to sell? I talk about, Pink Sappho has these 3 core pillars. At the core of our social club, if we ever get off track creatively, we have one North Star, and it's our pillars, our 3 pillars. And it's authentic connection, wellness, and education. Whether it's sex education is an umbrella of things. So are all those pillars. So every event touches on at least one of those 3 pillars.
Wow.
And I brought on ambassadors to embody those pillars and show that to our community. So I do have a team of ambassadors that represent the brand, but they aren't necessarily in the decision making of the brand. They're more like the faces. They're Sappho's muses. They're my muses.
Oh, I love when you bring it back.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. So then, as we start to wrap up, I'd love to give the audience a clear picture of what they will find if they go to Pink Sappho. What have some of your, I guess, most popular events been?
Yeah, I mean, our most popular events are always the one with pool tables.
Ooh.
You see, connectivity, something that brings you all together. Like, there's nothing like hooting and hollering over a pool table because somebody took a trip shot or something like that. There's just something about cards or whatnot. But that's not what I'm saying is all we do. But the point is, it's just art to be experienced. It's a dream that I have, whether it be a slightly perverted dream or where I'm just like, oh, like, I want to see a bunch of pretty, beautiful Saphics, like, you know, vibing out, or I want all of us to talk about sex education, or I want all of us to... So no 2 Sapphic events are the same, but they all have one thing in common, which is connectivity. You always have something to connect on. You always have an activity, and you have something to, like, immerse yourself in, where so much so that you lose track of time. That's what Pink Sappho brings. Because every time we wrap up an event, people are like, huh? It's over? Huh? So, like, that's what we want. That's what we'll continue to bring, and that's what we'll push for.
Excellent. And where can people go to find out more about you, about Pink Sappho, and your next events?
Our Instagram, our website, and our soon dropping newsletter, which I'm really excited about. Okay. But our Instagram, pink_Sappho, simple.
Pink_Sappho. You heard it here first, folks. This has been Chijioke WIlliams speaking with Aderinsola Ajeku, and enjoying the chance to speak to someone who is changing the community, who's creating space for joy, who is adding to both the Sapphic joy in the city and also the pool tricks that we get to see soon. Thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you so much for having me. I didn't say I know how to play pool now.
Oh, we can learn it. Someone can teach us.
Exactly,
somebody pretty.
Exactly. Thank you all so much for listening.
And we'll see you next time.